times that I trained at places where you know the guy would just be like, it was always such a beautiful thing to have a guy look at you like if you really got set up with a cool trainer person where they're like, well, this boss is a dick, this one you can call off and get in less trouble, this guy is this. And like I just, you know, I've heard some pretty wild stories in orientation just because you're working so closely with another person that I just want to hear those stories. But before we get to the calls, I want to talk about the laundromat.
Okay.
I went to the laundromat last night.
Good time at the laundromat.
It was weird. Okay. I got home at 1 a.m. from seeing Godzilla.
Yeah.
And everybody was asleep. Well, my kid went straight to bed because she went with me, but my wife was already asleep. So I was like, I'll just go do the laundry. It's Saturday night, 1:30 in the morning. It's a perfect time to go laundromat, right?
Sure.
Like, there's nothing... who would be there is the question.
Yeah, true. Right. Seems like a peaceful time.
Yeah. Who's doing laundry at 1 a.m. on Saturday? That is a fucking out there time.
True. I get it.
Which I didn't think about. And when I got there, I'm doing all the stuff. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
There's like 3 older ladies. And then there's a younger woman that's like 32. And then there's a couple that's in like their late 20s from the west side of Columbus. And then there's another guy that's talking on his phone the whole time. He's on the phone. But they all seem to have like this energy with each other that I couldn't really figure out until I went outside. And this guy that was just fucking hammered. He was drinking something out of a paper bag in the back of his car.
Okay.
While he was at the laundromat.
Like, go sneak into the car to take swigs?
Yeah. It was just sitting on his back seat. He was drinking. Like, he was really going off. And he called me over.
Yeah.
To the across the parking lot where he was talking to this guy whom I assumed he was friends with. Like, I thought he was friends with the guy that he was talking to at his truck, and I just thought they were having like a little conversation after the bar closed because there's bars close by.
Yeah.
You know? And he calls me, hey, bro, hey. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you ever done LSD? And I said, yeah. How many times you done LSD? I was like, a lot. I've done a lot of LSD.
Right.
Did it a bunch of times.
Well, he found an expert.
And he said, I just did it for the first time. And let me fucking tell you something. It changes your mind. And that's why I'm trying to talk this guy, a guy he didn't even know.
Just met
at the laundromat.
Yeah.
That he needs to do acid to cure his depression and to see the world for what it really is.
All right.
Does that work?
I think it's good. It does. Like, I know that when last time I super heavy tripped, I wasn't depressed for like 6 months afterwards. I felt very good. Like, mentally, it just like kind of dissociated from the world. And when I came back, I felt like things weren't as big and I felt like happy. Yeah, I was like, all my anxiety came back. But for a time, my anxiety was gone. I felt like what I would call cured of anxiety.
So
a short time.
A good short term.
Yeah, it's like a few months.
Yeah, seasonal. As the season changes, just trip your balls off.
Yeah. And so I start talking to the guy, and then he starts telling me, like, I went to this woman's house. I was sitting down with her, and she said, I'm going to be your trip sitter. And she pulled out just the smallest little piece of paper, man. And she gave it to me, and I took it. I chewed it up, actually. I was like, I mean, you can chew it up, but I thought you were supposed to leave it on your tongue for a little bit and then swallow it, you know? And he goes, I was like, this shit is bullshit. This ain't happening. He's like, then all of a sudden, I was just sitting there thinking, and I realized, Trump is a fucking racist. That was he said, and I said it to my friend, my trip sitter. I said, this is, the whole system's fucked up, and Donald Trump is a fucking racist. And she was like, you're just having a tripgasm, baby. And I just wanted to be like, I've never heard tripgasm.
I haven't either.
40-year-old man that's done it a lot. And I guess like a tripgasm is when you just have a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You know, when you're tripping.
Right.
So that happened, and then I kind of was like, I'm going to get away from this guy because he is a lot. He's very drunk. He was very big. And he kept telling me I wasn't white. and I didn't know how to handle the situation. He was a black guy.
Okay.
And he kept telling me, you're not white. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm white, but I didn't want to sound like I'm white.
You don't want to be black.
I'm proud to be white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but he's telling me, like, you're definitely not white. Your dad's black. Your dad's black. I was like, my dad's the whitest guy you ever saw. You've never seen a whiter guy than my dad.
Oh, that's the thing though, is you're too honest. Like if a guy was totally fucking wasted and he was talking acid and stuff to me, and he's like, "You're not white," I'd be like, "You know what? You might be right." That's
well, I finally had to like just be like,
yeah.
I find my way of dealing with it was I go like this. I go, maybe you're right. You know what I mean?
That's exactly.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not confident. Now that you asked me, now that you've pestered me 5 or dozen times, I mean, I'm not confident no more.
Also asked me what I did for a living, which led to that conversation. Oh my God.
You did? To a drunk person?
As hard
like
as I
internet?
could try. He kept trying to figure it out. That was the problem with it. It was like I explained it to him as concisely as I could, and then he would ask me. So what I said was, he asked me where I get acid, and then he asked me what I do for a living, right?
Okay.
And I said, well, I get drugs. He's like, when you go to a different city, how do you get acid? Because he's taking his first trip. I know so much about this guy.
Yeah.
He's 32 years old, and he's leaving Ohio for the first time.
Cool.
He's going to Las Vegas for 7 days.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Wait, what?
He's flying to Las Vegas.
This is a dystopian tale now.
For 7 days.
He'll have a blast, dude. That guy's going to be the king of Vegas.
I know.
He probably won't come back. I bet he doesn't come back. If he got that whole laundromat of people hooting and hollering.
He did.
And he's going to be the king of Vegas.
he was like, and I'm going to Las Vegas. And he's like, I got a question for you, man. How do you get drugs when you're in a city that's not your city and you don't know anybody? I was like, well, my case is like a little different than most people. I don't think you'll have problem getting drugs in Vegas if you're asking around the way that you're doing right now.
Yeah. I got offered them constantly.
Yeah. And he asked me, I said, well, I have a podcast. That's how I can get drugs anywhere I go, because I have a podcast and use drugs very openly on the podcast. And, you know, when I go places, people want to do drugs with me, and sometimes they give me drugs. Like that's how I can get them when I'm not in the city. And he fucking stops dead in his tracks and is like, wait, you got a podcast? And I was like, yeah. He's like, but you go to other cities? And I was like, yeah, I do like comedy too. Like I do live shows. And then for the sake of shortness, I said stand-up comedy. And he just, for the rest of the night, he would look across the room and he would just be like, so you do stand-up comedy, but also a podcast. And I was like, yeah, that's the gist of it. And then he would be like this. So you go on stage and you do stand-up comedy.
He wasn't impressed.
I didn't know what was going on. I was like, yes, that's how I make my living. I kept trying to reiterate to him. He did tell me to tell him a joke, to which I did what I do and said no.
Yeah.
I tell people whenever somebody's...
They don't like that.
I know.
That's rough.
Why can't you be fun like me? Why can't you drink a half a bottle of Grey Goose like me and be fun and tell jokes?
We got mad at me because I said I don't drink too.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't drink. And he was like, you've been to... Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You've been to Las Vegas and New Orleans and you don't even drink? And I'm like, well, drinking's not like the only thing at places.
Right.
You know, that's the only thing to do here. But yeah, this guy, and then he went in and argued with an old lady about Trump and Biden. He was pro-Biden.
Oh, that's nice.
She voted for Trump, but she didn't like Trump.
Okay.
But she said
So
she voted for him because he wasn't a politician.
Having a dialogue.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did have, it was an interesting dialogue because it was like, he would yell at her like, he was giving her shit where she would be like, Joe Biden's racist. And it's like, motherfucker, you voted for Trump. First of all,
Right.
Joe Biden is racist.
Right, you're right, but you're also going to own up to what you did.
But he just kept yelling at her that Obama had record productivity when he was the president. And he also destroyed ISIS. And I was like, what is this? Is not an argument I would. Productivity, first of all, if I hear a president like raise productivity, all that means is people had to work harder because of him.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
That was my night.
That sounds great.
I wish we could record at the laundromat now. That's where our office should be.
We did just to not real quick. We did we had to go to the laundromat while we were on tour, and I had a water, and I stood up for a second to throw something away, and a guy scuttled over and jumped in my seat and stole my water.
He took half a water.
He just took my water and was like, "All right, I was gonna get new water, I guess."
Is it because it's the desert and he just
probably
maybe?
I mean, it was probably water's hard to come by in the desert. It's a fucked up thing about that place is they really are very anti-homeless, and they're like there's no drinking fountains anywhere. There's no public water available in the Southwest at all.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird fucking place. It's like a weird cowboy libertarian Barry Goldwater situation where they're just like, if you can't procure water, get the hell out of town.
I've heard I saw something where there's a lot of homeless folks that live in the tunnels under Las Vegas because it's so dry all the time. But then like 2 or 3 times a year it massively floods.
Yeah. Someone at our Vegas show was telling us about that. Some of the locals, said it's like it's awful.
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole part of the country is like vehemently anti-homeless. It's crazy.
They are weird. All right, you ready to get into this?
All right, here we go. We're going into the calls. Everybody pray.
Cross your fingers.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Don't talk about sex when you call in. Unless you have a question about sex, I am very good. I'm like Adam Carolla.
Okay, thanks for calling Street Fight Radio. Who are we talking to?
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Sweet. Okay, hi. My name's Evan. I'm from Georgia. I've been a fan for a while. I'm an organizer in Georgia. I'm working at the people trying to shut down DeKalb County Jail. The place is a fucking dungeon. That's kind of why I called in. I wanted to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you had messaged me, and I wanted to make sure we got this in.
That was actually a thing. One of the interesting parts of the conversation at the laundromat was last night was between a guy and a woman comparing how much worse the jail is in Columbus than it is in Dayton, which I find interesting. I guess he was telling me, they were explaining that like sometimes the smaller the town, the better the jail.
Yeah.
Like that a larger city has the most vile jails.
They have to spread it more thin.
Yeah.
The budgeted dollars.
And where are the jails you're organizing around?
It's by Atlanta. It's in Decatur, Georgia.
Okay. And what's going on down there? What are the conditions like?
So it's just everything. There's mold on the walls. It's like infested a huge portion of the jail. There's mold in the air ducts. There's the kitchens that they use to cook food are infested with cockroaches.
That happened here. Actually, I guess the question. I guess a question I have for you is, what is public opinion like as far as stuff like that? I can't imagine. Like, how hard is it for you to like kind of drum up support for improving the position? So
we've been doing this for a little while now. Like we've done 3 like pretty big actions outside the front and some smaller ones. So it's been in the public consciousness for a little while. And it kind of depends who you're talking to. Like, if you're talking to, like, the family members of people who are inside the jail, you don't have to talk to them. Like, they support you implicitly because they've talked to people and they know what it's like. But in my experience, talking to people who aren't necessarily related to any of it, you tend to get a lot of the excuses that you get from people, like, oh, jails aren't supposed to be nice, and stuff like that.
They're not supposed to be deadly, though, either. Like, I think...
the death penalty, is another thing.
It's interesting that the things you brought up there because one of the main things that they talked about, the people at the laundromat that were talking about the jail last night was mold. That seems to be like a huge issue in the jails around the country is mold. Like they were talking about their food having mold on it and the cups where they got their milk in the morning had mold in it and mold going up the walls.
The towels they use.
The towels they use have
some mold. Of the people... Yeah, like they'll reuse the same towels when they shower, and the mold will get infested. The mold will like get into the towels, and they don't get new ones.
And you had there were some photos that you were sharing too. How were those acquired?
So I'm not. Is it the picture of the guy with the trays?
Yeah.
We have a few pictures. So that's how the whole thing actually started. A few of the prisoners inside the jail, like they staged this protest while they were having a video chat. They held up these plastic trays, like saying a few things. One said, "Please help, we dying and need food." And that's how this whole thing started. Like that one photo went viral on Instagram. The mother of that person got in contact with some of the people I'm working with now, and that's how this was all kickstarted. In fact, the people who did that protest, the guards beat them, they shoved their heads in the toilet, and then threw them in solitary for several weeks. They only recently got out.
That's awful.
That's legal too, right? Because I've heard about that a lot. Like a lot of the prisoners that organize end up getting their asses kicked, and it's perfectly fine with the it's like not against the rules, I guess, or they find a way to do it legally, I guess.
It's one of the things that's sort of technically against the rules, but the process by which you enforce that is by filing grievances within the jail, and the grievance system in that jail and in most jails, I'm fairly certain in saying, is a fucking sham. Yeah. Like I've been looking at accounts from people who've come out, and it's unanimous that they've all filed multiple grievances, and they just get ignored.
It's kind of that thing with the asking the cops to investigate themselves too, right? It's like I saw a video recently. Where this like journalist went into a number of different precincts to report report police misbehavior, and the guy that was working at the front desk that was supposed to say, I'm like, what do you want to report? What are you thinking about reporting here? Well, you got to tell me what you want to report before I'll let you give you the form to report it.
Oh, really?
You want to try and report this? That's interesting. And they're like, oh, fucking, like they would get into screaming matches where they're like, I'll fucking arrest you. So if a prisoner is filing a complaint, there's no fucking way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even like in terms of like the reactions the police have had towards the protesters, I started like relatively late. There was an action on April 12th where 4 people got arrested. Then I kind of joined after the fact, and the first action I was a part of, like my first one ever actually, was on the May 15th, and I and 3 others got arrested. Like the cops kicked my ass, and then dragged me into the jail. I was in there for a day and a half.
What kind of cops? Are we talking about the cops at the prison or the cops?
For the first action, it was just the guards in the jail because it happened by surprise, and they were not prepared to deal with what happened on April 12th. Like the protesters caught them by surprise.
And they were just they were out there beating people up?
What happened was the protesters on April 12th like forced their way into the jail. They got into the lobby basically before they were beaten back. And then 4 people were arrested then. But it was just guards at the jail. Like they clearly were not ready for people who were willing to fight back in that context. But May 15th, it was publicized on media so we can get as many people as possible. Like we got upwards of 100 people there protesting outside. And the cops they came out, there was at least 80 cops out there. There are pictures circulating of just how many cops were outside there. They came out in force. They were from different like districts and stuff, like several different kinds. We have like video footage of it all. It was absurd.
How many protesters were there?
The May 15th one was 100 people.
And there were 80 cops?
It's somewhere like that.
Yeah, it was just like such a I've seen that a lot, though. I've seen those like massive shows of force. They kind of hate it when highly motivated. Like, I think the police truly hate prison abolition. I mean, it's obvious. It's such a stupid thing to have to say, but like, I think if prison abolition people or people who are fighting for a more equitable criminal justice system are like the lowest on the police's kind of scum list. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's like if there was somebody if there was somebody trying to outlaw podcasts, you'd be like, fuck them. It's like, yeah.
No, I can, because one of the four of us who was arrested, like I can't name anyone, but they were isolated from the three of us. Like three of us were left together, and then one of us was separated. The thing what that person went through was horrific. Constant physical abuse. They were denied like basic services. They weren't allowed to like call outside of the jail, outside beyond their initial call. Like I heard the stories when it came out, and I don't think I would have survived that if I had to go through that by myself.
I mean,
it was horrific.
I've heard like just stories of people who voluntarily kind of checked into jail for a suspended sentence. Not like you can check in like a hotel, but it's like, hey, you need to come back in 7 days and do your time in jail or whatever. You got a month to get your shit together, and then you got to do your time in jail for 2 or 3 weeks or a month or something like that. And it sounded brutal with them too, you know, like it seems like there's not a non-brutal jail experience. And it's also, I mean, me and Brett were down there in the Southwest, and I always had Sheriff Joe Arpaio in the back of my mind when I was in Arizona. Like the whole time he's like being in one of those like tent cities, like was in the back of my mind. What kind of charges are people? This is just a regular jail. This isn't a prison, right?
Yeah, this is just a jail.
See,
a lot of the people in there are just being held in either because they can't afford to pay bail, or I've heard some stories coming outside of the jail of people who have actually like bailed out already, but have been held there like for a week still.
Oh yeah,
they haven't been let out yet.
Because they don't have to let you out if they don't want to. It feels like they kind of are just like, I'll get to it when I get to it, motherfucker.
Like we got a lot to do. We're gonna take care of it as soon as we can, right?
I mean,
and you can't.
They do add on to people.
We're very sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
They do add on to people's sentences like crazy amounts of time. I told a story on this show about a guy that was doing 2 years with a possible 8. And his day to get out was coming up in like 2 weeks, or he'd been in jail for 2 years. His day to get out was coming in 2 weeks, and he got into a fight. Now, he says it wasn't his fault, but everybody that gets into a fight says it's not their fault, but they added that other 6 years. He's got to stay there now for 8 years instead of 2 years.
Oh, my God.
And that's a situation where you can't, I mean, if somebody is trying to kick your ass in jail, you can't. I
know.
What can you do?
Well, yeah. I just like, I don't know why. As we even get older, we start to try to figure out who started it. Like when we know that fights are these irrational things, but we're still like, who started it though? Who like really started that fight?
Yeah.
Like there is a rational explanation for every fist fight. It is really a weird thing that we think. So what can our listeners do to help y'all raise awareness, money, or whatever you would need?
There's a few things that can be done. Well, I'll start with this. If someone's like looking to follow what's going on, if you on Twitter, it's at Atlanta IWOC, IWOC. That's one of the groups who's helping organizing all of this.
I love the IWOC.
It's the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee. It's a prison abolition group.
Part of the IWW, right?
Yeah, they're a part of it. Yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta's good.
So that's if you want to follow.
You're good. Go ahead.
If you want to follow that, that's where to look.
Okay.
And if you're in the area, any kind of support would be appreciated. If you're not in the area, one of the things you can do is there's something called the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, which is where the group that I'm working with, we collect funds. So if protesters are arrested, we use those funds to help bail people out and to help pay for legal fees.
Nice.
So that's one thing that can be done.
Cool.
Other than that, basic awareness spreading would be appreciated. Like there's a action coming up on July 1st.
July 1st.
Which we're building up to, trying to get the same numbers. Yeah, July 1st.
Hell yeah.
So we're building up to that right now.
All right. Thank you. And follow those accounts because, show up to this action. I feel like I should. That's the kind of thing I want to go and do. Like if there was actions outside of the jail here, I guess I have the ability to make those happen. but I'm scared.
It takes a lot of courage to go. And you said you busted into the jail. That kicks ass. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of people willing to do that.
No, I wish I was that brave. No, I wasn't doing it at the time. When I got arrested, I was just attacked. I wasn't really doing anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you were there, and they hate that about you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Oh.
And follow those sites.
Oh, thank you very much.
Have a good night. Prison.
You too.
I hate prison.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Well, prison's a bad place, isn't it?
I heard jail is worse than prison. Is that true?
That's all bad to me.
I mean,
well, jail.
yeah.
But the difference between jail and prison is there's no like kind of setup for somebody that's going to be there for years, right?
Yeah.
So like when somebody ends up sitting in jail for 2 years, they're in kind of a temporary holding place.
Yeah, and they're dealing with like drunk tank people. They're dealing with meth people that are having a psychotic episode for a weekend. There's no like normality to it at all.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are so many things.
Like Jake hung out with a bunch of people that were just there for like methamphetamines, like on the weekends, or just sitting around. There was a guy that was there for 2 years, sitting in jail for child support. Like they kept garnishing his check and then saying you didn't pay, and then sending him into jail, and then he was in jail so he couldn't make money to pay, and then they just kept adding more time, and he'd been there for 2 years already. It was very shitty. It's just it's all a trap.
There's so many,
but people turn a blind eye to it, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy because there's so many things that people go to jail for that they should. Like, really, jail should be like just a sparingly used thing. We use it as just like
someone that's dangerous that will kill other people or will attack other people. Like needs to be quarantined, you know.
But like, I don't think that like somebody who I just saw this story this week, but somebody who uses a substance that the government doesn't like should have to go spend time sitting in a cell for. I just saw that the Bureau of Workmen's Comp is going to quit paying for OxyContin. And that is such a like, that's one of those times where the government gets involved with your medicine that you never hear any of the anybody yelling about. And it sucks because like doctors aren't going to be able to prescribe this thing that actually works, you know,
provides relief.
Well, and if you're on workers' comp, it could be, you know, you were driving your semi and you got fucked up and you got your arms ripped off or something where it's like you need something that's going to work. You can't like take ibuprofen for it.
Yeah, most people that are on workman's comp are on there for like incredibly painful issues.
Reasons.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who our next caller is. Thanks for calling Street Fight. Who are we talking to tonight?
Oh, shit. I made it on.
You're on. Who's this?
Oh, my name's Nick. I'm from North Carolina.
What's up, Nick? How you doing tonight?
What's up? How's it going? So, like I said, I'm calling from North Carolina, but most of the time I go to school out in Ohio. I wanted to share with you guys, like, I got another story that relates more to your theme after this, but do you guys know about the gambling amendment to the Ohio Constitution?
I do not. What is it?
Well,
I know that it legalized gambling, right?
Right, it did legalize gambling, and I'm reading this from the Ohio Government Casino Control website. It authorized casino gambling at the facilities located at specific locations in Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, and Toledo.
Yeah,
I was
against the bill when it happened.
Sites. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I was very against the bill
because a friend of mine told me this.
I don't think that you should guarantee a business in a state constitution. I don't think that makes any sense.
I so agree.
All. And that you should legalize it and let it happen. And also we had issues, I felt like, where the majority of Columbus actually voted the casino down, and I think we should respect that. I think that if Columbus doesn't want a casino, they shouldn't have to have it. If the other places want it, go for it. But I don't think it's representative of what the city wanted.
Yeah, but now it's like, you know, like, fuck you, it's in the Constitution that you can
It's mandated.
You can put a casino there.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Also, I was going to say, like, huge shout. I was just listening to Evan, the guy who called in before me. Like, huge shout out to what he's doing. That is fantastic. I love that kind of stuff. But anyways, the story I was going to tell is about a really, really shitty kind of job interview, kind of job orientation that I went through about a year ago. I've been listening to Street Fight for like a couple months now, but I thought you guys would love this story. So, have you ever heard of a company called Ohio Citizen Action?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I used to work for a place when I worked in the chemical industry, and my boss hated OCA.
Okay, why did your boss hate
There
you?
you go.
Because fucking
They're spreading
whenever
bad news about poisons.
whenever the company would release toxins to the environment, they're like, "Oh, the fucking Ohio Citizen Action's getting mad again."
Okay. So that's good, but in reality, Ohio Citizen Action is a fucking terrible company. There's like, these companies are all over the country. They're in Ohio. They're in every fucking state. There's a something Citizen Action, right? And they say they're like an environmental charity.
Those
Yeah.
places
But
are
what it
just
really is,
constant
it's one of those
fundraising
companies
events.
where you go door to door until you find some lonely old person who will talk to you, and you just fucking suck money out of them nonstop. It's terrible. So I worked, I didn't work there, but I interviewed for an internship there before I really knew what they were and what they were about. And I go to the interview, and it's a pretty regular interview for the first part. And they're like, at the end of it, they were like, "Hey man, we really like you. Come back for our second interview." And the second interview is literally just a day of unpaid work.
Right.
Like you go around doing shit with that, and that's all over the place. I'm like, fuck that. And
Wait, can I ask?
So I show up for that.
Was that day of unpaid work just you following a person around while they knocked on doors?
oh yeah, 100%. That was exactly what it was. And so yeah, no, you're right. So I get there for this interview where I'm supposed to do a day of unpaid work, and I meet like the guy I'm supposed to be following around, and he was actually like a pretty cool guy. We talked about like old sci-fi books and shit. They take us out, and I thought they had like kind of implied to me that we were going to be canvassing. I go to school in Cleveland, and they kind of implied to me that we're going to be canvassing one of like the like kind of bougie, nice suburbs around Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so we get in the car, and the dude driving the car just pulls up these fucking printed MapQuest directions, and he's like, "All right, we should be there in about an hour and a half." And I was like, "Where the fuck are you taking me?" And this is the middle of February, and we go there, and I follow this dude around for like 6 hours of unpaid work, from about like 3 to like 8:30. I'm following this dude around, and he just and at the end of it, he just hands me a clipboard, and he's like, I think you really understand this shit. Like, how about you go try like canvassing that street? And I like go down the street, and I go to one of the houses, and I like knock on the door, and I start giving the speech and shit. And the guy who answered the door looks at me, and he's just like, "Kid, what the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "You're right, man. I'm not even getting paid for this shit. Like, you mind if I wait inside your house and I call an Uber?" He was a super nice dude. He let me. And I realized, like,
What?
they've given me, like, no
Wait, you
contact.
bailed on the job? The
They've
guy
given-
called you on it and you just bailed on the job?
I was kind of realizing, okay, yeah, I think I told this story a little fast. There was sketchy shit all day. So, like, in the car ride down there, right, there was this one woman, and her job title was foreman, and she made everybody refer to her as, like, the foreman. And
I like that.
he was like, yeah, that's actually pretty badass. But he goes, she was like, okay, so we have like regulated conversations in the car ride out there, like, and she literally had this like printed off list from like the job, from like the head office of like the company and stuff, of like what we could talk about, and she was like asking all these questions and giving all these answers, and every time somebody got asked a question, they had to give their like observation. Observation was what they called it, but it was like whatever the date was where you did like the unpaid day of work. And people, it was really, this really culty shit where people would be like, my name's Mark, my observation date was like May 2015.
Oh.
And I was like, this is weird, man, this is fucking weird. And so I do that, and I'm going around with this guy, and I'm just not really doing anything. And like, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, what the fuck is going on here? And it ends with, me, like, abandoning, like, some random street outside of Akron. I had no idea where the fuck I was. And I was like, and I, like, knock on the street door, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, yeah, man, just just fuck this. And but yeah, that was about the shittiest job orientation experience I've ever had.
I actually
That's a bad one.
I actually
That's
did
a
kind of
fucking
the
bad
same
one.
thing. I've told the story, and it's odd.
I've heard you tell a similar story.
Yeah, I told a story about me being driven out an hour and a half away from Columbus to try to switch people's gas bill.
Oh, you were an energy.
Yeah.
You're an energy slammer.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
You were doing the same thing, but you were working for the fucking devil.
Yeah.
These days, like I'm just fucking with you.
I was advertising.
Pause. It was like, oh god.
You were just
Yeah,
giving.
dude, that's
You were
so
just.
awful.
You're just giving people an opportunity for a better rate.
Yeah, they told me it was an advertising job, and the fucking goddamn one ad said, "Do you like heavy metal music? Do you think tattoos and piercings are cool?" And I had like my eyebrow pierced at the time. I was like, "Hell yeah, they're tight."
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You try
I'm
to
into
start
that.
a band or something?
Do you want to work in a work environment that believes in heavy metal principles? Yes,
I'll do
obviously.
lighting or something for a show.
They did the same thing to me. Like all the ads were like, no job duties, and it was all just like, hey man, like we like the environment, like we think big corporations are like evil and shit, and like you show up and then it's just like fucking that is what you've got, and I'm like, oh man.
And they drive you an hour and a half away.
And it's mostly fundraising. I mean, I've been dragged into those things where I signed up for like $15 a month, and then they call and they're like, we really appreciate that $15 a month, but we need a little bit more to make a big push.
That's
and
funny.
I'm like, no, just figure out what to do with the 15.
It's
like whatever you can get people to sign up for a month to month, that's enough. Don't call us. How about you not hire people to call?
yeah.
Yeah.
They had a similar thing. It was like their script that they gave us was kind of like a flowchart type thing, and if somebody was just like, no, like fuck off, I don't care about the environment, I'm not going to give you money, whatever, then you just like fuck off. But if somebody's like, I mean, yeah, like I'll give you a couple bucks. There was like all these like more, there was all these more like segments of the script that just made you like keep adding them on, like a couple bucks and a couple bucks, and I was like, oh, dude, I
You
feel
could
so
really
bad for
change
this
a
job.
walrus's life for $15 a month.
That's right. I
For
would
$50 a month.
when I was broke as hell and they would come to my door, I would hand the motherfucker a 20 and they'd be like, we're really asking people for like minimum $50 donations now. And I'm like, what are you
my
getting for
God.
me, man?
Yeah.
He's like, I can't even sign you up for $20. And I was like, please don't sign me up.
Yeah. I think I win.
I just
You
paid you.
screened me out of this.
I paid you $20 to leave me alone. Because I'll do that, man.
Sure. Yeah, I signed up for
Yeah,
the
it's like
goddamn...
it's like what is it, the Trailer Park Boys scene? Like, I'm gonna pay $100 to fuck off.
Some child came to my doorstep and was selling newspapers and was like, it goes to my college. And I'm just like, I want this kid to have college if you're really looking to have college. So I signed up for the paper, and they pestered me on every possible digital meet. Like, they emailed me, they texted me, they called me on the phone. They're just like, we'll pay you $15 and Applebee's gift cards. Just please say you want more paper. Mr. Payne. Like, they were bugging me so hardcore, and I'm just like, I only did this, I paid $20, and that kid probably got $3 for his college fund.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I
They're
like
all
to do.
fucking scams.
You know what I like to do, Brett, is when they have when a kid, and it's always like an older teen, when they come to the neighborhood and they're clearly running a scam, and this only happens like once or twice a year, but they're like running a scam. I'm like, you got it.
Yeah.
Like you had the idea, you had the plan, you came out to my neighborhood and like,
You
I know what
earn
you're
that
doing.
fucking money.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give you $5 or $10
Yeah,
because like you had the hustle and you go and you spend the money on what you want.
You
Yeah,
invested
yeah.
all this money into movie theater boxes of candy, and then you came to my house and told me you do have a basketball organization that you're raising money
Yeah,
for.
I mean, that's not even a
You bought it for
scam.
$1 and sold it for
No,
$5.
That's
No.
not a scam,
No,
right?
it's not.
No.
No,
It's
it's not.
entrepreneurship.
It is.
It is,
No,
and I'm
it's a
like, fuck
celebra-
it, because I'm gonna eat the candy.
Right, I want
the
that candy
candy's
right
good.
now. Hey, I'd have to walk across this fucking...
Right, and it's one thing
We always get hit at
I feel like it's
ComFest.
one
There's
thing
this
when it's
outdoor
like-
festival park where always kids are running through with a box full of like Mike and Ike's, and I'm like, you know what? This fair food ain't shit. I'd rather have something I know. Give me some
Yeah.
Mike and Ike's right
Yeah,
now
for
for
sure.
$5.
And what's the big problem
I
if
think
they,
it's
even
one
if
thing
they're
though. I think it's one thing though. When you get like kids running through the neighborhood who are just like trying to sell boxes, it's like, okay, you came up with this shit yourself. Like, I'm gonna throw you the money. Like, you've earned it. But the other thing is like Ohio Citizen Action and all its like sister organizations is like just such this like big like corporate like blood sucking entity that like that just pissed me off.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
I mean they're worse. I mean they're worse than somebody buying candy and selling it to you for more because it's convenient. I
And-
mean, they're lying and they're
Right,
not.
yeah.
They're not working towards anything except for paying the bills next month. They're like, we need to raise enough money to keep the lights on here and pay my salary.
Gotta
because I
pay,
love my
the fucking
life as a-
CEO and the board of directors'
Right.
salary.
Exactly.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good and making 6 figures a year, and they want to keep that kind of entrepreneur activism going.
And if the kids
Exactly.
are lying about having a basketball team, I mean, really, like, for example, $9.99 a month for the
Like, you came
WWE
out-
Network, and they supposedly they do give to charity. That money does go to Connor's Cure. You know
I
what
saw,
I mean?
dude, when we were in Vegas on the Strip Saturday night,
Back that
11:30 p.m., I saw a 40-year-old TGI Fridays dad buying a mixtape. And like dapping up the guy and be like, yeah, no, man, that was fire, man. And he gave him $20 for one of the not even real CDs, the half slim case.
Dude, but that's like
Like a
That's like
CDR.
hustle, man. That's real people
That's money.
out there doing like real work to
That's
make
true.
that money.
Yeah.
I
That's
respect
you know
that. Like,
you know what?
even
Brett,
if it is to some degree like a scam or whatever.
the last time I was in New York, I got hit up for mixtapes and like I bought them.
Right.
I was like, fuck it.
That's who I am, too.
There's nobody selling CDs. There's nobody like rapping for me on the street. Give me a line. Sell me a CD for like $10. It was
Right.
like, because it was a long
Yeah,
time
dude.
ago.
Most of this other music, you just sit
My
around and
senior
wait
year-
for
all right,
journalists to put it on like a
a couple
Spotify
years ago-
list.
Yeah.
Right.
A couple years ago, my senior year of high school, we like my high school did this trip every year. Where we like went out to New York City for a long weekend, and this one kid had like a boom box with like a CD thing in it, and he got everybody to just be like, all right, listen, like go and like buy CDs from all the guys on the street, and like we did it. We would give these guys like $5-10 for the mixtape. The whole way home, we just that kid just busted out that boombox and just bumped that shit at like
That's
max
awesome.
volume. It was hilarious.
That's great.
Right.
It was great.
Better
We
than
had a good
regular
time.
radio music, just shit that's piped into your head.
Right. Well, and like I bought
Exactly.
one for $10, and then the guy was like, for another $10, I'll autograph it. And I was like, wow. You don't need that, okay. I'm not an autograph collector,
It's an
sir.
investment,
Thank
dude.
you.
You are a gambler, though.
I'm not an autograph collector, though. I'm not a memorabilia. Me and Brett went to the Pawn Stars pawn
We
shop.
did. We went to Gold and Silver Pawn.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and
it
they
was
have a lot of
great.
cool stuff.
They had the coolest shit, dude.
Did they really?
Cool
Yeah.
shit.
That's
G
one of the-
Sean's-
Yeah, you like the guys from the show.
I mean, I laugh. So the thing I learned this in Vegas. Well, not in Vegas, probably in Phoenix or something like that on the last tour. We were watching Pawn Stars in our first part of the tour a lot. And I noticed that they like make them read Wikipedias now, basically, where they're like, where like, Rick's dumbass son will be standing there and he'll be like, well, actually, these kind of swords were used in the Crusades and then start
You got
like,
the fucking
reading the
teleprompter
facts.
screen right behind
So
the
this is like Pawn Stars season 87 or
Yeah.
something.
Well, yeah, but it is. There's a moment. I guess it's funny because it's been on for so long, and I remember like my suburban ass in-laws and girlfriend's parents that were so into it, but now you realize it is so naked, where they're just like, in 1927 the Hoyle Company was known as Brown and Bigelow, and you're like, you did not know that off the top of your fucking head, dude. You did not know. That's the first sentence on Wikipedia when you look it up.
I think it'd be better if none of those guys like knew shit. Like they have experts for like knowing shit. Like the guys on the show are just there to like fucking be funny and like do stupid shit. Like I don't want them to know stuff. Like
Yeah, I like
I don't want
Rick's, like,
Chumley
Muttley
telling
laugh.
me like the history of the oil company.
I like when Rick is like, I gotta make money on that thing. He does that like gritted teeth thing where he's just like, give me the damn product, you know?
Well, hey, man, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, wait, hang on. Before I go, can I make some real quick plugs?
Yep.
First of all, you guys were talking about reading some theory last week. I've been getting into this book about income inequality. It's called Capital in the 21st Century by Thomas Piketty. It's a French economist, which, you know, like, fuck economist, but like whatever.
Yeah.
It's been a really good book. It does a lot of good stuff about equality. But more importantly, I live in Charlotte, and I'm trying to work with the Food Not Bombs chapter. They're deactivated for the moment, but we are doing an organizing meeting at the Common Market in Charlotte to try to get it like back going and back like serving people food again. So if you're in the area and like street fight and you like that kind of stuff and think, you know, everybody deserves to eat food, like come to that. But yeah, and again, thank you guys for having me. It's been
and how
awesome.
do they get in contact with you?
I would go to the Facebook page is just Food Not Bombs CLT. I got in contact with a guy there earlier today. He said he made an event for the meeting on Tuesday morning.
CLT?
CLT.
Okay.
You would think it was CHR, but that's my opinion. I'm not
right. No, that's
shit.
the weirdest thing about it.
It sounds like a chicken lettuce tomato sandwich.
Is CLT?
Is that chicken
It
lettuce
reminds me of
tomato?
something
Is
else.
that
it's
a
like
thing?
it's like a lighter than the bacon.
It reminds me of a dirtier thing.
Yeah, I thought
CLT.
Anyway.
Well, now if we end up
do.
there, I'm gonna go put I's between the L's and the.
Yes.
And again, like, thank you guys for having these. I love these call-in shows. I'm like geeking the fuck out that I even got to be on here. Like, you guys are awesome. What you're doing is awesome. Hearing from other people who do like really cool stuff on these call-in shows is really inspiring. And thank you guys.
Hey, you're welcome. Have a good night.
One. Peace out.
Doing stuff is
You too.
is good.
Yeah. And you were a good caller.
Holy moly. Yeah. Those jobs, those door-to-door jobs, selling shit is like, they should just be outlawed.
They're
now.
so, I mean,
It should just be over.
We have to come up with a better solution than trying to convince people to switch their energy every 6 months.
And the thing is, anybody who's out on one of those jobs, the people that answer the door, especially in like the bougie neighborhoods, they're so fucking mean.
Oh, really?
So
They're bonkers.
bad.
Actually, I answer the door, and I'm always bonkers, man. I've had magazine people come in and smoke a blunt and drink with me. I had another guy that was like, "You like records, man?" And like, I'm like, "Yeah, I like records." And he was telling me all these collectible records he had.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I'll come back and sell them to you if you want them." And he actually showed up a week later with records to sell to me.
Did you buy a record off him?
I did buy records.
Hell yeah.
From him,
That's a fucking sales person.
Yeah.
He's a prodigy.
Yes. He did not sell any energy at the time.
I mean, salespeople are, I put them at like,
I would just be like, I would
a troops level
at that time
fascination.
I would basically answer the door wearing long john pants, just long john pants and a t-shirt, and I would open the door and be like, "Well, I'm not gonna buy anything, but do you want to get high or something?" And then I would offer them weed or like a bowl, and if they wanted, they could do it. If not, like I would just tell them to scram. Because I'm not gonna fill in any. I don't want to fill a shit out.
I don't ever want to do it, and I just say like.
Now I listen to them all the way through. I got switched to that wind energy. Some lady came over and then told my daughter corny jokes like off of Laffy Taffies and popsicle stick jokes. She had some good ones. I forgot them all.
I don't work
for kids. I don't do kids material.
Yeah, no, we don't.
I'm not trying to entertain kids. She's gonna have to grow into my stuff. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna reach down for her.
Yeah, no, we did. I kind of get to the door and try to give off an "I wish you would leave" vibe.
Yeah.
Try not to
All
be
in your head,
outwardly mean.
Yeah, that's
You
how
know?
you flirt too, probably.
I do not do that.
I'm thinking about sex so hard right now. She's gotta notice.
I I am like a dude that thinks I can give a vibe off.
Right, that it would just radiate from you.
Yeah. I feel like I see other people's
The heat.
vibes.
Yeah, that's true. I'm with you. I read.
You know?
I live off of people's body language and stuff. Sometimes people are surprised. I'm like, that person fucking hated you. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, they stood with their hip jutted out at you and their arms crossed in your direction the whole time. They were not happy with you.
Right.
Some drunk stupid guy that doesn't,
I'll do this. I'll do an impression of me when I answer the door. Yeah. What's this?
Oh no. What's this? You gotta say, what's this nonsense?
I used to try
You
this.
gotta say
You know what I do
nonsense.
now that's horrible? And this is Brett's fault, actually, because a few years ago he hit me to it and then made fun of me for not doing it. I hide. I don't answer the door
you can
anymore.
actually hide. You can actually hide.
I thought it
just
was-
avoid the sitch.
I don't know why, but I was just always like, if you're home,
So
you have to
duty
answer the
bound.
door. That's the rule.
Duty bound. to
I
answer the
always do it because I'm like, who knows where this will lead.
I agree.
Not me.
if I'm not in the middle of eating, I'll answer it and it'll be some guy for Windows and I'll be like, straight up, like, I'm not gonna buy Windows. And I'm like eating dinner, so like, all respect,
time.
good luck,
Yeah.
have a good one, but like, I'm gonna let you move
You are
on
duty
now.
bound to answer that door. Brian's right.
I mean, you could hide. The only I tried to hide once from the cops. It didn't.
Oh no, you can't hide from the cops.
It
They'll
didn't work.
break
They
in.
kept
They'll come get you.
knocking.
They will
kept
come get you.
Well,
Yeah.
there was some teenage. This was a long time ago. There was teenage girls banging on the door, and I opened it up, and they were all wet.
Okay.
And they're like, "Please let us in. There's a guy chasing us." And I was extremely intoxicated, and I looked at him, and I shut the door, and I locked it.
Oh really?
I could have seen that though too.
Yeah, that seems like
That's a bad situation for a dude.
I was like, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved with that.
But you should have
Yeah,
looked out the
and
window
then-
to make sure something bad didn't happen. Like just peek
Yeah,
out the
Watch
blinds.
watch them get murdered from the window.
Well, no,
No,
you can come
I was-
out if the murderer came.
No,
hey,
I
don't
got.
murder them, son.
Yeah, that's what
No,
I
I
would do.
got like the thing. I ran up to like the furthest away corner of my apartment. And I sat there and I was like, "Fuck this!" And then it was like, police, and I was like, "What?" And then it was like the whole situation. I
okay?
guess there were people, and they were on the bus. They were throwing drinks on each other, but it seemed more serious
Yeah,
than
it
it
seemed
was.
Weird.
Because
Why were the police involved for throwing drinks on each other?
They don't like it when you throw shit on the bus. We so many times got yelled at by
you
a
get
cop on the
arrested
school
for throwing
bus.
stuff on the bus?
'Cause
No,
what
we got yelled at
happened-
though. They would stop and bring the cops on the bus, and the cops would yell at us.
What happened is they stopped.
What time was this?
It was at night. It was a code. It was a city bus.
Oh, okay. I
I'm
thought you were talking
thinking
about
school
school
bus. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you
No,
getting
not
your
a
hammered
school.
when school's getting out? Like, I was blasted because my daughter was about to be home from school.
No, this was before I
Coda
this
bus.
was before I had a kid. Yeah, and I lived in
Throwing water all over the Coda bus.
well, it may have been a soda or something. Anyway, they were wet, and then there was another guy, and he was wet, and the cop was dry, but the cop was pissed, and he's like, "There were people knocking on your door," and I was like, "Yeah, what do you do if a stranger knocks on your door and says, 'I have to come in, there's somebody chasing me'?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I shut the door. What the fuck?"
Right.
I'm high right
Did
now.
he arrest you like that Seinfeld episode?
I did not get arrested.
Oh, good.
Can I tell you guys something that
You're
happened?
allowed to not get involved with shit.
Yeah, you can just leave. You can leave yourself. I'll give you $5 if you got a good scam. I'll give you $5. Please don't, like,
Can I-
kids.
Please don't ask to be housed in my home.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I tell y'all something
Exactly.
that happened to me last night at the movies?
Okay. Yes.
Me
Is this
and-
after the? Is this after the
pre-laundromat?
Pre-laundromat.
Pre-laundromat. I pulled up to the movies, and there's a guy walking in the parking lot barefoot.
No,
Good-
that's
good
legal.
sign.
I
That's
don't like
legal.
it. I don't like it.
It's a good
He's
sign,
dirty
yeah.
clothes, but he was checking cars. He was like,
Checking the door handles.
checking to see if the cars were unlocked. I saw him do like 3 or 4 of them. And I was like, I have like no. I'm not gonna go tell. The
Yeah,
fucking
fuck it. Who
police.
cares?
The
Those people
police are
deserve to
gonna
get
fucking
stolen
kill
from.
him.
Yeah, fuck 'em.
So I just locked the door and I was with the teens, with my daughter and my niece, and they're like, we gotta fucking tell somebody.
No, you don't.
And I was like, the
Sometimes
only
you
thing
don't.
that's gonna happen when you tell somebody is a cop's gonna beat them up and maybe take them to jail.
Yeah.
But like, I did feel sort of conflicted not doing anything about it. Like, I locked my door and was like, I'm going in. I'm locking the door.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean. But I felt You don't think it's weird to like just allow something like that to happen? But again,
I mean, I guess in other times in my life, but now it's just something like, I mean, I'm at a point in my life where I'm so comfortable. If I get stolen from, I'm like, yeah, I deserve that. You know,
he's probably
I'm
just
living
stealing
too much.
change, too.
I live on the good side. I literally live on the good side of the train tracks. I came from the other side. Anybody takes from me, I don't give a fuck.
And he's probably just stealing change.
Right, it is Ray-Ban
You know?
sunglasses that he's selling for $20 to a pawn shop that's going to sell them to $45.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
I was trying not to. Because my daughter wanted to tell, and I was like,
It's just not worth your time.
Yeah.
Let it alone. If
Yeah.
it doesn't concern you, just let it alone.
And then the thing is, I mean, even if we're like, I'm not pro snitching. But, like, if you did call, then it'd be like, you're on record, and you're a person of
You're a part of this
interest,
thing.
and you're a party of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just fucking, it's not.
Yeah, you were going to go down in front of all them police and that judge and tell on this guy?
No, I didn't say.
Yeah,
I
and
don't want to
that's
say shit. You know,
That's the
but
thing. You could get dragged into it, and it's some guy, and you don't know what his life is like.
right. Well, he's barefoot, so obviously
Right.
wrong.
Like I said,
Everything's
I mean,
wrong.
Yeah,
That's the deal.
yeah.
That's just the deal we have.
Well,
at
that's
this
why I
point.
explained to them. I was like, some people just need shit, man.
gonna
And
tell
I
you.
don't know what to tell you. Like,
There's not a lot of people that I've met that decided to just become criminals out of nowhere. Decided
Right.
to be a barefoot person that is trying doors to make money. There's
Like-
nobody I know that's decided to do that instead of pursuing other things.
I do wish he'd been more discreet so that like we didn't literally see him try 3 doors.
Yeah, I get
And
it.
he saw us and he was
Yeah.
yelling at us while he was doing
Oh
it.
man.
Oh,
yeah.
he yelled at you?
Yeah, he was yelling at
Okay,
me in the
'cause that
parking
was-
lot, and I was like, I don't fucking like.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
tough.
I was like, let's just go watch Godzilla. Everything's gonna be
Yeah.
okay after Godzilla. He's gonna be gone. He's
You
gonna
got
find what he
insurance.
wants.
You got insurance.
Yeah.
You can pay the deductible. You're
He's not gonna
blessed.
take anything. I lock my doors.
Right.
You know,
It's not smashing windows. Who cares?
nobody smashes windows. The window smashes.
I got a window smashed once.
when.
Main Street, when I worked at Insurance Agents, Main Street and 3rd, over there by Dirty Frank's Low Palace, got my shit smashed for a Zune and a GPS system.
Well, you had some shit.
I had the motherfucking the little GPS hanger.
Yeah.
Back when you couldn't get it on the phone. Back when you had to have like a unit.
You had to have
TomTom.
Garmin.
You had a Garmin or yeah.
We both said to both of the companies.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers was just driving into the lake with those.
I was
things.
like,
all the time you would hear somebody drove into a fucking
yeah,
lake.
just followed it.
But fucking he was driving. He was 3/4 of a mile into the forest. I don't know how he died.
Yeah, they would take you to some fucked up places. We tried to get to Six Flags when it opened. We ended up at a dead end alley.
Yeah.
Just so we could see the park. Like in the distance, we could see it. And we're just like, it said to come here. It says we're here.
We drove to Baton Rouge with MapQuest when it wasn't great, right? We had to go
Print
down
it
to
out?
Yeah, print it out on paper.
Once,
From Ohio to Baton Rouge on like 4 sheets of paper,
Oh,
turn by turn directions. When we got there, we pulled into the parking lot, and it was supposed to be a hotel, but it was a giant plantation house. And I was like, "Whoa, this is really nice." And they were like, "This is definitely not the right place."
all right, let's see who's on the line.
All right.
We got calls. We got calls coming in. Thanks for
just
calling
having
Street
too
Fight. Who we
fun.
talking to tonight?
What's up?
What's that? God level shit. That was the
guys.
best, right? Sorry, go ahead.
It's Stazzy Baby from the Discord server.
What's up? How's it going? What's going on tonight?
Pretty good. I'm just I'm cooking some pizza from your Anarchist Cookbook videos.
Oh, you watched
yeah.
the vid.
That's a good dough.
Yeah.
It is a good dough. It's
That
the one I
turned out
still
good?
use.
It's a very versatile dough. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Just like an hour and a half sitting around.
How great does making pizza dough make you feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
It's really enjoyable. I love
anything
it.
that has to rise makes you feel like a god level cook.
It's
Any
way-
food with yeast makes you feel like, damn, there's nothing I can't do. I can raise dough.
And it's way better than buying the frozen pizzas because you can
Oh,
just
yeah.
buy the